everyone, welcome back to another episode with Vogue a la mode. So as promised, we will be continuing with our How to Start a Fashion Business series. So this is episode 2 of How to Start Your Own Fashion Business. And today we'll be talking about the branding direction, section 1. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and pull out our fashion business manual. As you all know, this is our class textbook for this course, and I'm just super stoked about this. If you have not seen my first episode, please go ahead and watch that before you tune into this one, because they're gonna go in chronological order. You didn't watch that last one, you're watching this one, it's not gonna make so much sense. Okay, so go ahead and head over there. All right, so episode 2, we're gonna be talking about the branding direction. Like I said, the first thing about the branding direction is knowing what fashion consists of. So what jobs are there available for you? What type of career focuses that you can elaborate in. So let's go ahead and open up our fashion business manual, and we're going to turn to page 10, and it's called People in the Industry. Okay, and then you see all these figures and all these people. These are the different fashion careers that the industry offers. So I'm just going to be reading off a few, and you can pick from yours. Also, if you have this book, kind of gauge and see which role that you want to fit in. So it just says, on your journey, you will deal with plenty of different people within the industry. Some might even become your team members, and the following are just some of them. So these are just some of the fashion industry gurus, people, jobs, careers, anything you want to think of it as. This is what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna name off a few. Of course, we have marketing manager, which is something that I will be pursuing in the fashion industry. The next thing we have accessories designer, operation manager, merchandiser, blogger, trend forecaster, textile designer, bespoke tailor, designer, educator, sewing technician, show and event producer, a buyer, a personal shopper, a creative director, a sales advisor, a retail manager, model agent, a model, showroom representative, a stylist, an editor, a photographer, product merchandiser, distribution manager, pattern maker, sourcing agent, visual merchandiser, beauty and makeup artist, hairstylist, quality control inspector, showroom representative, PR agent, product merchandiser, and production manager. The list goes on and on and on and on. So I promise, if you doubt in any way, shape, or form that fashion is not for you because you're not a designer, honey, open page 10. Choose from a list of the following. So now that we've got the jobs and the careers out the way, we want to know what the most important thing in branding is. The most important things in branding is your brand name, designs, communication to key values, and your business model. Having those things breaks up a true, convenient brand that's going to last and have sustainability versus a brand that is just right here for right now and doesn't have much standing. The next big question is, how do I stand out as a brand? I have my brand business model, I have my name, I have my career chosen, but I don't know how to stand out as a brand. Number 1, don't follow trends, create them. Okay, I know a lot of things are trending right now on social media, and it's easy just to be like, hey, I'm just gonna go with what's trending right now. I'm just gonna go the easy route. Please don't do that. Don't follow the trend. Create it. The next thing is communicate sincerely. Don't be afraid to experiment. okay? Your audience is gonna know true communication and organic communication, genuine communication, rather than forced communication. They're gonna know the difference. Don't be afraid to experiment, but always do it the most organic way that you possibly can. The next thing is repeat your brand message. Be reliable, okay? People want to make sure that they know your brand for what it is. They know that your brand or your service or your offering is reliable to them. It's convenient for them. And they know this because your brand message has it in it. Make sure your brand message is very, very, very strong on the fundamentals of what your brand means and what your brand is going to mean to the contribution of society. Have great visibility with advertisements and media coverage. Make sure that you spread yourself out. If you want to go the free route because your brand is kind of in the making, make sure you do that. Social media is absolutely free 99. Okay, so with advertisements and promotions and things like that, you be your own PR rep. Make sure that you're displaying your brand from point A to point Z, okay, the freeway. And then when you start to build up that revenue, then you can start to invest in advertisements and promotions and social media posts and influencers who can help to influence your brand to the public. But the whole point is to be very visible. The next thing is really important. Exceed expectation, but don't try to please everybody. When you try to please everybody, it doesn't come across as organic. It doesn't come across as your brand having morals, having, the right to stand for something. Some brands stand for one thing and other brands don't stand for it, and vice versa. So make sure that you are standing for something and that you have morals, and make sure that you have a quality policy that's going to abide with your brand message, that's going to abide with the things that you agree with and you disagree with. Stand strong in your policies, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you have those strong policies for people to know. Your customers will not get confused. That's another thing with marketing is often in service marketing, which a lot of fashion brands are doing, service marketing, it's hard to display what the customer expects and what the brand offers, or what the brand expects, what the brand says that they were going to offer the customer. Customer expectation is your number one thing that you want to strive for. A positive customer expectation and a positive brand message and a positive brand policy that align so you can close that consumer gap, because the consumer gap is what's going to keep you there. If it's widened, then don't expect for your brand to go very far. But as you get to closing that consumer gap where the expectations and the feedback from the consumer is so positive that you're entailing in that word of mouth marketing, that it's going to start to close that consumer gap. So make sure that you know exactly what your policies are. Stand by them. Don't agree. Don't be everybody's friend. Don't make sure that your brand is for everyone. Yeah, you can say that. Oh yeah, my brand is for everyone. But have a target market and define your target market. Defining your target market means focusing on your core customers, your target market, who you want to appeal to. There are 7 quality steps in building a core brand, and I'm going to tell you what they are right now. Step 1, decide on your brand's core values. Like I've been saying, it's very, very important. Step 2, define your key features and your benefits. How is your service or your brand going to benefit the consumer? If it's not going to benefit the consumer, or if the consumer is not going to be in a specific demand or need for the product that you're offering or the service that you're providing, then the brand is not needed. Okay, the brand is not going to be sought after. So make sure that you're defining the benefits that it offers your consumer. Step 3, characterize your target consumers. So that means breaking them down between their sex, their age, their race, their whole demographic, their social standing, their economic standing. What type of class are they in? How do they usually dress? How do they usually look? And always knowing your consumer by knowing your consumer, you're going to know what to give them and what to service them by knowing that consumer. Okay, so breaking that demographic down of each consumer is very important for your brand. And how you can do that is by surveys, or you can do it by just marketing on social media. And you can kind of track your analyzation as far as, oh, who's watching me, what type of person are they, where are they from, things like that. So there's ways that you can categorize your consumer, but that's definitely important, so you can know who is your target consumer and who you're actually servicing to, who's the person that's coming to your brand. The next important thing is analyzing your competitor. It's very important to know who is not on your team. Who is your competitor? And by this, I'm saying fashion is a huge industry. It's very competitive. It's very repetitive. It's a lot, okay? There's so many different, if you think about it, subscription boxes, the personal styling boxes. There's so many. Diet & Co., Stitch Fix, ThreadUp. Like, there's so many subscription services that are being offered. It's like, how do you differentiate all of them? So you need to make sure that you are analyzing your competitors, okay? And even if that may mean to analyze their price market, because Diet & Co. may be a little bit more than Stitch Fix, and vice versa. You never know, but you need to make sure that you're analyzing your competitors so that you can properly place yourself within that market, and so that you can properly analyze what price market that you are going to be offering. Who's going to run to your market or your brand when these start to fall off? So make sure you analyze your competitors, and that is in great detail. Make sure you do it in great detail, okay? Be on them as if you are in love with their company and you're the next consumer. The next thing is very important. Again, they're all very important, to be honest. Build your visual identity. That's meaning like your tags, even like your clothing. If you're going to be selling clothing, make sure that you have kind of that style in mind, that aesthetic in mind. This is really like key and honing in on the word aesthetic, because you have to make sure that you have those things in mind to be able to build your style and build your visual identity. When people think of, marble, pale pink, and gray, I want them to think of VALM. Okay, I want them to think of VALM. I want them to know VALM because of those colors, because of the font that I use, because of the size that I use, because of the aesthetic of the tag, of the features that I use. I want them to recognize my company. So building your visual and building your ability for everybody to notice who you are is very important. The next thing is setting your tone of voice. Make sure you have a voice. Make sure you set that tone. Make sure you stay consistent in what your brand means. And that makes us come to the last point, and that is reinforcing your brand values. Brand values are what you should really stand on. Brand values are what makes your company. What makes your company your company. And that differentiates you between your competitors, and that's your brand values. So make sure that you reinforce those with every opportunity that you possibly can. There are 8 elements to building a strong brand and making sure that your brand is very solid and very reliable. And these elements are creating a brand story. So I'm a musician as well. And a lot of the times when I auditioned for certain, music shows or for certain talent shows or things like that, they always wanted to know my story. And I thought it was kind of weird, because I'm like, you don't even know me, but you want to know my story. Should you just care about my voice? But it's very important to appeal to that emotion with your audience and with your consumers, from business to consumer, because you need to make sure that you're being relevant and that you're going to help them, so building a brand story, using real people, real stories, real genuine, policies that's going to help to bring in those consumers. It's not always just focusing on, revenue, money, how much am I going to get from this? Or I'm losing money, I'm losing profit, how much am I going to get? No. Like, focus on your brand story, and just being very genuine. And that's gonna drive in consumers. I'm telling you right now, being genuine and having that tone of voice and setting that tone is what drives in those true consumers. Because just like YouTube, you know if a person is being sincere with their video, and you know if a person isn't. And if they aren't, I don't know about you, but I kind of click away because I'm like, I'm not really feeling this. Like, I don't think they're being really genuine. I don't think they're being really, real natural. And the person that's being natural and being real and being genuine, I'm like, tell me more. Like, I want to know your story. I want to know who you are. Things like that. So having a brand story is very, very, very fundamental to the success of your brand. Again, brand value, staying clear and staying consistent with your brand value is very, 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 very important to creating a strong brand. Having that visual identity, creating your style, creating your aesthetic is what's going to drive those genuine consumers to be like, oh yeah, that's VALM. Like, who did you think it was? I mean, that's VALM. Oh, like, for example, I can recognize Balmain from like 80 miles away. I know that's Balmain because I know their aesthetic and I know their creative direction. I know how they are fundamentally designing their garments and their items, and the thought process that goes on in their head, I can recognize by their garments. And I'm just like, who is this? Like, who does this? Like, what? Are you from Earth? So I've done a lot of research on the brand, and I can say hats off to Oliver Roosting, the creative director of Balmain, because you are a genius, my friend, and I want to be your friend, okay? The next thing is very important as far as selling. Okay, this is kind of what I'm getting to as far as profits and things like that. Having a unique selling ability and having a unique selling point, a USP, is very important, and it's what's going to differentiate you between your competitors. Having a unique selling point and knowing kind of that price market that you want to function at. If you want to be a luxury brand, or if you want to be an entry-level brand, if you want to be a fast fashion brand, you want to be a high-end fast fashion brand, you want to be, a couture fashion brand, things like that. So just defining which type of fashion brand or consumer market that you want to tap into is what's going to kind of make your selling point and your unique selling point a thing, okay? Making it stand out. Make sure that your brand has a point of view and has a clear standpoint. I'm telling you, being so transparent with your consumers is what's going to drive business. And that's what's going to differentiate you. That's what's going to make you unique. That's what's going to make you desirable, is having that just complete open relationship with your consumers, and not being so hard to track or so hard to deal with. What's your return policy? Why is it so difficult? Why is it 2 days? Why can't I have a week? Things like that. So differentiating those type of key elements is very important to building a strong brand. Also, brand positioning is very important. Plotting your perceptual map is what's going to take you to the next level. Okay, having a clear standpoint is what's going to make your brand stand out. The next thing is targeting your consumers, and like I spoke of, knowing who is buying your items is very important. That's what's gonna lead to that emotional appeal, so people can be like, wow, they listened, or wow, how did they know that I would love this? How did they know that this spoke to my identity? How did they know? Have your customers really like in awe. And having your customers in awe is what's going to make them a first-time customer, is what's going to turn a first-time customer into a word-of-mouth marketer for your company. Meaning they love your company so much, they're going to go to their friend and their sister and their brother and their mom and their dad and say, hey, you got to go to VALM, because guess what? VALM is great. So let me pull up their website so you guys can go search what you want now. Okay? Or VALM is so amazing. I went in VALM last week and I had the best personal styling experience, and they just treated me so much with so much respect, and they loved me, and they knew exactly what I was going for in terms of my style. And it was crazy because I walked in with sweatpants and a jacket on. How did they know? How did they know who I was? Because we studied you. And it's not anything creepy. It's not anything like, oh, we're tracking like your web performance. Our ads are just randomly popping up when you type in Facebook. I mean, we'll get into that further in the series because that is a part of marketing that's very important. It's in terms of SEOs and ads and all that stuff. But we studied you. We know what you want. We know how to drive you as a consumer. And it's nothing scary. It's nothing like we're invading your privacy. It's just very, very brand savvy. We're brand savvy. And we know how to communicate efficiently with you. The last thing, as I touched on, is tone of voice. Choosing your tone and aligning that tone with your brand values is, essential. It's essential. All right, guys, we've reached the last point in this section 1 of the branding direction, and that is defining internal versus external branding. Two different things, and I'll tell you the definitions right now. Internal branding refers to the aspects that need to be defined within your brand. Internal branding is very different than external because you have to think of the service elements. You have to think of the how you're going to set up shop, the visual aspects, the merchandising aspects, the PR relations, how all of this is going to go into creating your brand. So that's internal. And before you kind of figure out external branding, you really need to have a strong internal branding point of view, because that's what's going to make your brand withstand in times of economic instability, because that often happens. We have had recessions, we've had depressions. The Great Depression happened, and that's because we were in a recession so long, so people kind of did expect it. But as far as these recessions and employment markets going down, that just happens. That's just a part of life. So you kind of have to build a strong brand, because if you don't, then your brand is going to crumble with the market. Your brand is going to crumble. So making sure that you have a strong brand and a strong internal market that will help you with your external market. External branding is the parts that you want to show to the entire world, the parts that you want to show outside of your brand. Okay. And this goes along with visual aid and things like that, but it's very much more than that. It's basically the definition of who you are and what makes your brand and what do you want to showcase. For example, I can say that Fashion Nova and Givenchy are two different brands, and they bring out two different markets as far as the consumer market, and two different tones of voice. They have two different tones of voice, and I know one is luxury and one is fast fashion e-commerce. I understand that, but they bring out my point is they bring out two different type of tones. Okay, Fashion Nova, quick fashion, going out fashion, easy fashion, vacation fashion, affordable fashion. Givenchy, luxury fashion, high class fashion, sustainability. And I'm not trying to down talk Fashion Nova, because I love Fashion Nova as much as I love Givenchy. But the thing is, they have two different values, two different tones. They set two different markets. They appeal to two different consumers, or one, because I love both of them. But for two different reasons, you understand? So it's like, I'll go to Fashion Nova and be like, hey, I need me a club fit. I'll go to Givenchy and be like, hey, I need the Antigona. So they're very different. Very, very, very different. Two whole moods. So yeah, so I go to the two different brands for two different reasons and for two different appeals, two different tones of voice. One person has a lot of personalities and a lot of ways of being, and one day you'll catch me in a blazer and my face looking beat and my hair popping. The next day you'll catch me with some sweatpants on, hair up, tied, chilling with no makeup on. Hashtag Drake. But anyway, you understand what I'm saying. Like, you appeal to two different markets. Those two brands appeal to those markets, and it's important for you to set your tone of voice. All right, you guys, you have reached the end of Episode 2, Section 1 of How to Start Your Own Fashion Business. I'm so excited that you guys tuned in. If you made it to the end of this video, you are a true future business owner or business owner who's very, very, very consistent and very on top of what they're doing. They're very serious about their craft. And I admire that about you. So thank you for tuning in again to another episode. Next episode that you'll be watching is still the branding direction, but we'll be talking about how to define your customers and how to analyze your brand. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode with Vogue a la mode.